central nervous system, particularly the brain. And I'll be using crystal meth as a case study. The brain is the most complex organ of the body. Every part of the brain contains thousands and thousands of brain cells called neurons. Crystal meth in its natural form looks like pieces of glass, but when it is reformed, it looks like any kind of medicine you take at home. This crystal meth is a central nervous system stimulant. It stimulates the brain and the spinal cord. The part of the brain where it stimulates is called the basal ganglia, and this basal ganglia is located around this region. It is the part of the brain that is responsible for pleasure. Naturally, when you feel impulse, it travels as stimulus to the receptor and to different kinds of neurons, the sensory, the intermediate, the motor neurons, and then to the effector, which is known as the muscles and glands, and which affects a response. This is an example of a neuron, an intermediate neuron, which does not contain myelin sheath. When crystal meth stimulates a neuron, a sensory neuron for example, the sensory neuron releases neurotransmitter, dopamine precisely, which is a pleasure neurotransmitter. It's because the crystal meth has already stimulated the neuron. This releases a higher amount of dopamine, which is more than what the body naturally releases. This dopamine leaves the synapse, the gap between this neuron and another neuron, and enters into the receptor of another neuron. With time, continuous use of crystal meth reconditions the brain and alters the natural chemistry of the brain. Naturally, when the dopamine is released, after some time, the dopamine goes back to the neuron. It is a recycling process. But when crystal meth stimulates a sensory neuron, the dopamine does not go back to that neuron that initially produces it. And that is why anyone who uses the drug feels a different kind of ecstasy. One thing about crystal meth, don't forget it is man-made. It is not natural. And it is very addictive in the sense that 50% of the drug leaves the body every 12 hours. Unlike other type of stimulant. For example, cocaine. 50% of cocaine leaves the body every 1 hour. And that's why crystal meth is very addictive. Anyone who uses the drug can never feel pleasure from anything. Because when another thing that gives the person pleasure is stimulated, the dopamine affects the number of receptors that should have traveled the impulse, making the person feel a lesser amount of happiness than what he or she normally feels initially. Effects of using crystal meth includes severe brain damage, bleeding of the brain.